Would still be covering the knothole.
Scout! Where are you? Scout! You come here!
My name is Jean Louise, but when I was that young girl over there on the porch, they called me Scout.
You hear me, Scout? I'm watching for Atticus.
Atticus, that's my father. Back then he seemed ancient, feeble. He was a lawyer and nearly 50. When my brother Jim asked him why he was so old, he said it was because he got started late, which we thought reflected on his manliness. He was much older than the parents of our school contemporaries, and there was nothing Jim or I could say about him.
Because he doesn't do anything. Atticus doesn't drive a jump truck for the county. He isn't sheriff. He doesn't farm, work in a garage, or anything worth mentioning. Other fathers go hunting, play poker, or fish. Atticus works in an office, and he reads.
With those attributes, however, Atticus didn't remain as inconspicuous as Jim and I might have wished. No, he did not.
Hey, Scout! How come your daddy defends niggers? Scout's daddy defends niggers! You gonna take that back, boy? You gotta make me? Our folks say your daddy's a disgrace, and that nigger ought to hang from a water tank. You take that back! Make me! Try and make me! Scout, Mom told you to come in. I'm not ready to come in. I have to talk to Atticus.
It was Macomb, Alabama, and it was back in 1935 when I was that girl. Back when ugly words were first shouted at us. Back at the beginning of an experience that brought a man to his death. And it brought Boo Radley storming out of that shut-up house. The attack on me. Jim's arm broken. Another man killed. But that isn't what I want to remember. That's not why my mind's come back here. There's something I have to do. Something my father wanted. Probably enough years have gone by. Enough so I can look back. Perhaps even enough so I can do the one thing my father asked. No, there was one other thing. When he gave us our air rifles, he asked us to never kill a mockingbird.
Your father's right. Mockingbirds don't do anything but make music. They don't eat up people's gardens or nest in corn cribs. They don't do one thing but sing their hearts out. That's why it's a sin to kill a mockingbird.
Miss Monty, this is an old neighborhood, ain't it?
Been here longer than the town.
No, I mean the folks in our street are all old. Jim and me's the only children. Mrs. Du Bois is close on 100. Crawford's old, so are you and Atticus.
not being wheeled around yet, and neither's your father. You're lucky. You and Jim have the benefits of your father's age. If your father was 30, you'd find life quite different.
I sure would. I just can't do anything.
You'd be surprised. There's life in him yet.
What can he do?
Quite a lot. Seems to me you'd be proud of him.
Why? The way some folks are starting to go on around here, you'd think he was running a still. I have to see it.
We lived over there. Atticus, my brother Jim, and Calpurnia, our cook who raised us. Calpurnia was all ankles and bones.
You can wash up now when your father gets home.
I said I wasn't ready.
Your brother's already washed. Now how come you can't behave as well as Jim?
Because he's older than me, and you know it.
Get him there.
Calpurnia's hand was as hard as a bed slat. My mother died when I was 2, so I never felt her absence. But I felt Calpurnia's tyrannical presence for as long as I can remember.
The water's too hot.
Keep scrubbing.
Even in 1935, Macon, Alabama was already a tired old town. In rainy weather, the streets turned to red slop, grass grew on the sidewalk, and the courthouse sagged in the town square. That's Heck Tate the sheriff and Judge Taylor.
Atticus, you home?
Not yet, Mr. Tate. Afternoon, Judge Taylor.
Cal, tell me stop by.
Do you want him to call?
We'll be seeing him anyway.
People moved slowly then, and somehow it seemed hotter. A day was 24 hours long, but seemed longer. There was no hurry, for there was nowhere to go, nothing to buy, and no money to buy it with.
Lack of money is no excuse to let a place go like that. At the least, they could cut the Johnson grass and the rabbit tobacco. But of course, they're rats.
Miss Stephanie Crawford, a neighborhood scold. According to her, everyone in Macomb had a streak. A drinking streak, a gambling streak, a mean streak, a funny streak.
No Atkinson minds his own business. Every third Merriweather is morbid. There is no truth in the De La Fields. All the Bufords walk like that. If Mrs. Grace sips gin from Lydia E. Pinkham bottles, it is nothing unusual. Her mother did the same.
She was also your principal source of information about Boo Radley.
When that boy was in his teens, he took up with some bad ones from old Sarah. They were arrested on charges of disorderly conduct, disturbing the peace, assault and battery, and using abusive and profane language in the presence and hearing of a female. Boo Radley was released to his father, who shut him up in that house, and he wasn't seen again for 15 years.
I had to ask as she intended. Miss Stephanie, what happened 15 years later?
One night, Boo was sitting in the living room, cutting some items from the Macomb Tribune to paste in his scrapbook. When his father walked by, he took those scissors, stabbed them into his parents' leg, pulled them out, wiped them on his pants, and resumed his activities. Boo was then 33 years old. Mr. Radley said no Radley was going into any insane asylum, so he shut him up in that house where he is to this day.
But how do you know? How can you be so sure he's still there?
Because I haven't seen him carried out yet.
Jim and I had never seen him. That didn't come till later. And when it did, we were in no condition to take much notice, being in fear of our lives. People said Boo Radley came out when the moon was down. When azaleas froze in a cold snap, it was because he breathed on them. The tall Radley pecan tree shook its fruit into the adjoining schoolyard, but the nuts lay untouched. Radley pecans would kill you. A baseball hit into the Radley yard was a lost ball and no questions asked. My brother Jim, before the fight when his arm got broken. Alabama must be playing in the Rose Bowl, with Jim scoring the winning touchdown.
Jeremy Finch. What are you doing here this time of day? Playing hooky, I suppose. I'm just going to call that principal, and I'm going to tell him.
It's Saturday, Mrs. Du Bois.
Does your father know where you are?
Of course he does.
Miss Maudie Atkinson said that you broke her scupper dog arbor this morning. She's going to tell your father, and you're going to wish you never saw the light of day.
I ain't never been near her Scuppernong Arbor.
Don't you contradict me, young man. If you're not in a reform school by the end of this week, my name's not Du Bois.
Mrs. Henry Lafayette Du Bois. If she were on her porch whenever Jim or I passed, we'd be raked by her wrathful gaze, subjected to ruthless interrogation regarding our behavior, and given a melancholy prediction of what we'd amount to when we grew up, which was always nothing. Jim and I hated her. We had no idea that she was fighting such a hard battle.
Miss Cow?
Reverend Sykes of the First Purchase Church, called First Purchase because it was paid for by the first earnings of the freed slaves.
Good afternoon, Reverend.
It's about Brother Tom Robinson's trouble. We have to do more for his wife and children.
Yes, Reverend.
The collection for the next 3 Sundays will go to Helen. Please encourage everyone to bring what they can.
Why are you all taking up a collection for Tom Robinson's wife?
To tell you the truth, Miss Jean Louise, Helen's finding it hard to get work these days.
I know Tom Robinson's done something awful, but why won't folks hire Helen?
Folks ain't anxious to have anything to do with his family.
Yes, Pa.
I told you, stay out of town, you hear?
I hear.
Bob Ewell, his daughter Mayella. No truant officer could keep any of the Ewells in school. No public health officer could free them from filth and disease. Good or bad times, they lived off the county in a cabin by the garbage dump near a Negro settlement. And all Bob Ewell could hold on to make himself feel better than his nearest neighbor was that if he scrubbed with lye soap in very hot water, his skin was white.
Why'd you stop talking? It's just rules.
Remembering it now, I'm not surprised they stopped talking.
Well, I have a lot of calls to make. Goodbye, Miss Jean Louise. See you Sunday, Miss Cow.
Reverend.
Bye. Cal, what did Tom Robinson do?
I mean, what do they say he did? Old Mr. Bob Ewell accused Tom of attacking his girl and had him put in jail.
With everyone in Macon knows of Ewell, you'd think folks would be glad to hire Tom's wife.
That is what you think.
What does it mean? He attacked her.
Well, now, you're going to have to ask Mr. Finch about that one. Are you hungry?
I have to speak to him. There's Dill.
That was the summer Dill came to us. Dill, who was to give us the idea of making Boo Radley come out.
Hey! Hey, Dill.
His real name was Charles Baker Harris, and he had been sent to spend the summer with an aunt. We came to know Dill as a pocket Merlin, whose head teemed with eccentric plans, strange longings, and quaint fancies. He was to be my childhood fiancé, which is nice for a girl, even if he wasn't very big. I'm little, he said one time, but I'm old.
You watching for your father?
That's right. What about your dad?
What do you mean?
You never say anything about him.
Because I haven't got one.
Is he dead?
No.
Then if he isn't dead, you've got one, haven't you?
Never mind her, Dill.
If his father isn't dead, how can he say he hasn't got one?
Scout!
Nathan Radley.
When old Mr. Radley died, some people thought Boo might come out, but they had another thing coming. His older brother Nathan, that's him. He moved in and took his father's place. At least Nathan Radley would speak to us.
How do you do, Mr. Nathan?
Afternoon.
Looking back for a place to begin, perhaps it would be what happens next.
Now Boo Radley's in there all by himself. Wonder what he does. Looks like he'd stick his head out the door sometime. He comes out when it's pitch dark. I've seen his tracks in our yard many a morning. And one night, I even heard him scratching on the back screen. Wonder what he looks like. Well, judging from his tracks, he's about 6.5 feet tall, eats raw squirrel
teeth he has are yellow and rotten. His eyes pop, and most of the time he drools.
Let's make him come out. Make Boo Radley come out?
If you want to get yourself killed, all you have to do is go over and knock on that door.
You're scared. Too scared to put your big toe in the front yard.
I ain't scared. I'm just respectful.
I dare you.
You dare me?
Don't go near it, Jim.
You gonna run out on a dare?
Well, let me think a minute.
Just touch the house. I dare you.
Touch the house, that's all.
He'll probably come out after you. Then Scout and me'll jump on him and hold him down till we can tell him. We just want to look at him. Well,
Don't hurry me.
Scout and me's right behind you. Folks where I come from aren't so scared. I've never seen such scary folks as here.
So there.
Someone at the door. Look at the curtains.
He was watching. He saw me.
Don't ever do that again, Jim. If you get yourself killed, well, with Atticus already so old, what would become of me?
Where'd you get the chewing gum?
Stick it in the knothole.
Radley tree? Spit it out right now.
I was just getting the flavor.
Suppose Boo Radley put it there. Suppose it's poison. You go gargle.
It'd take the taste out of my mouth.
Let's throw a pebble against the door. And when he sticks his head out, say we're going to buy him an ice cream. That'll seem friendly. Maybe if he came out and sat with us, he'd feel better.
How do you know we don't feel good now?
How would you feel if you've been shut up for 100 years with nothing but cats to eat? Of course, if you'd rather I throw the pebble,
Better leave it to me. How many times do I have to tell you that?
maybe you might have been touched it, but
You're not going to throw a stone at the Radley house.
I guess I just have to keep on showing you.
Jim?
Atticus!
Just what were you about to do, Jim?
Nothing, sir.
I'll not have any of that. Tell me.
I was gonna throw a pebble to make Boo Radley come out.
Why?
because, sir, we thought he might enjoy us.
I see. Son, I'm going to tell you something. I'm going to tell you one time. Don't bother that man.
But, sir!
What Mr. Radley does in his own house is his own business. If he wants to stay shut inside, away from the inquisitive eyes of little children, he has every right to. How would you like it if I barged into your room in the middle of the night without knocking?
Well, that's different.
Is it?
Because we're not crazy.
What Mr. Radley does may seem peculiar to us, but it does not seem peculiar to him. Son, I'm going to ask you to do something, and if you'll do it, I think you'll get along better with all kinds. You see, you never really understand a person unless you consider things from their point of view,
Sir,
until you step into their skin and walk around in it.
you want us to consider things from Boo Radley's point of view?
He means everyone.
You stay out of it.
Ah, but Bill's right. But I expect I'm asking too much. Oh, there's Walter Cunningham.
I've got a much better plan. See you.
Regardless of any plans, you're to stay away from that house, unless invited. Afternoon, Walter.
This here's for you, Mr. Finch. These turnip greens.
Thank you.
I'd like to pay you cash for your services, but what with that mortgage and these entailments...
No, this is just fine. Now, take these inside, won't you, Jim? I'd say your bill's paid, Walter.
Well, now, you have done a lot.
Well, let's see. First there was that load of stovewood you left in the backyard, and then a big bag of hickory nuts. At Christmas time, there was a crate of smilax and holly, and now a bag of turnip greens. I'm more than paid.
Well, if and you say so.
Your boy's in my class at school, Mr. Cunningham. We had a disagreement the other day.
Well, I have a few with him myself, little lady.
I didn't actually beat him up bad.
Well, if he can't hold his own against a girl, he'll just have to take it. Much obliged, Mr. Finch.
Anytime I can be of help.
Why does he pay with stovewood and turnip greens?
Because that's the only way you can.
Are we poor, Atticus?
We are indeed.
Poor as the Cunninghams?
Not exactly. You see, the Cunninghams are country folk, and the depression hits them the hardest. What was your disagreement with my client's son?
He said some things I didn't like. Rub some nose in the dirt.
That's not very ladylike. What did he say?
Thanks. And I think we should have a talk. I've been watching for you to get home because
Atticus, catch!
No, not today, son. Hang on to it.
Atticus, we be going out with the Methodists for the football game?
What game?
Well, it's not until next fall, but everybody's talking about it. The Methodists challenged the Baptists to a game of touch football. It's for fundraising.
I'm afraid I wouldn't be of much help.
But everyone in town's father is playing.
Everyone except yours.
Every other father.
I'd break my neck.
It's touch.
I'm too old for that sort of thing.
Then Atticus, would you have time to show me and Scout how to use our air rifles? Later, I mean?
I told you, you'll have to wait till your Uncle Jeff comes up. He'll really show you.
But can't you show us?
I'm not interested in guns.
He's not interested in anything.
now you'll have to chase after him. Jim, white folks always slow down if they
What folks?
Yonder's some bitches.
Yeah, this is chillin'. For all he cares, blacks can run free and rip up the countryside.
Why does it
Because that's the way they are.
But why?
I have to get my football.
Someone call?
I've been meaning to ask. Atticus, do you defend niggers?
Of course I do. But don't say nigger, Scout. That's common.
So everybody at school says.
From now on, it'll be everybody less one.
Do all lawyers defend Negroes?
They do.
Then why do the kids at school make it sound like you're doing something awful?
Scout, you're not old enough to understand some things. There's been a lot of high talk around town about how I shouldn't defend Tom Robinson. But I'm going to defend that man.
They say you shouldn't. Why are you doing it?
Well, the main reason is, if I didn't, I couldn't hold my head up. Why, I couldn't even tell you or Jim not to do something.
You mean Jim and me wouldn't have to mind you anymore?
That's about right.
Why?
Because I couldn't ask you to. In each lawyer's life, he gets at least one case that affects him personally. This one's mine, I guess.
Are we going to win it?
No, honey.
Then what?
Just because you're licked 100 years before you start the fight is no reason not to try to win.
You sound like some old Confederate veteran.
Only we're not fighting the Yankees. We'll be fighting our friends. But just remember this. No matter what happens, they are still our friends, and this is still our town.
Is there something you want me to do, Atticus?
Yes. Keep your head. Even if things turn ugly. And I hope you can get through this without contracting Macomb's usual disease. My reasonable people go stark raving mad when anything involving a Negro happens is something I don't pretend to understand.
Tom Robinson case must be pretty important.
It goes to the essence of a man's conscience.
Suppose you're wrong about it.
How's that?
Most people think they're right and you're wrong.
Well, they're entitled to think that. And they're entitled to full respect for their opinions. But before I can live with anybody else, I've got to live with myself.
What does that mean?
One thing doesn't abide by majority rule. A person's conscience.
Jim! Jim, hey!
I thought I had interesting information to pass along to Jim. Apparently, our father was more complex than we realized. Certainly, this new aspect of his legal practice was more promising than doing papers in an office. I found my brother unresponsive. Probably the Tom Robinson case wasn't quite as new to him as it was to me. Thinking about it now, probably it was abuse from older boys that made Jim so eager to involve his father in sensible community activities, like a game of touch football. All such invitations were politely declined. Then a few weeks later, something happened. Something that made our father even more of a puzzle. The tension in the town about the approaching trial was getting drum tight, but what happened had nothing to do with that. It had to do with a liver-colored bird dog named Tim.
Why do I have to come home?
Because I tell you, that old dog from down yonder is sick. Cal, can you come out a minute?
It's only Tim, and he's gone lopsided. That's all.
What is it, Jim? I can't come out every time you need me.
Something's wrong with that old dog from down yonder.
Hell, I don't have time to wrap up any dog's foot right now.
He's sick, Cal. Something's wrong with him.
Trying to catch his tail, is he?
No, he's doing like this.
Are you telling me a story, Jim Finch?
No, Cal, and he's coming this way.
Running?
Just moseying, but walking funny.
I'll get help. You two, get in off the street.
Come on.
He's not even in sight.
Operator, Miss Eula May, give me Mr. Finch's office right away. Mr. Finch, hello, this is Cal. Listen, there's a mad dog down the road a piece, and Jim says he's headed this way. Yes, sir.
What's Atticus say?
In a minute, Jim. Miss Eula May, I'm finished talking to Mr. Finch. Listen, can you call Mrs. Atkinson and Miss Crawford and anyone on this road that has a phone? Tell them there's a mad dog coming. Hurry, ma'am, please.
What about the Bradleys? They got phone?
They wouldn't come out anyway.
Maybe Nathan. Better call out to them.
No scouts!
Listen to me. You get back on that porch and you stay.
I just want to shout to the Bradleys.
Go back.
She's not scared one bit.
I don't see Tim.
Maybe he turned off.
Maybe.
Mr. Nathan, Mr. Boo, there's a mad dog coming. You hear me? Don't come out. Mad dog.
I see him. There he is, Cal.
Both of you, get back up on that porch. That Tim's gone mad, all right.
He's coming now, Mr. Bradley.
Get up there.
You always pick on me.
You had it coming.
He's not even in sight.
What's that?
Finders keepers.
Well, where did you find it?
Where I found the chewing gum. That'll not hold.
The Radley tree?
Oh, please come soon, Mr. Finch.
What's inside?
2 pennies, all slicked up.
Indian heads. They're real valuable. They make you have good luck. But why would somebody leave valuable Indian head pennies?
They're mine. I risked my life out there.
Old Tim's walking like his right legs are shorter than his left legs.
We assumed that Atticus would turn to competent authority to handle this dangerous situation. And our assumption was to prove correct. When our father arrived, he was accompanied by the sheriff.
Atticus! He's over there behind
Stay on the porch, son.
Back there, behind the Radley pecan trees.
Not running, is he, Cal?
Oh, he's in the twitching stage, Mr. Heck.
Well, usually go in a straight line, but you never can tell.
I think the slope of the hill will probably bring him back down into the road.
I thought Mad Dog foamed at the mouth, then jumped at your throat.
Hush.
Oh, there he is.
He just looks sick.
He's got it all right, Mr. Finch.
Is he looking for a place to die, Mr. Tate?
Far from dead, Jim. He ain't got started yet.
He's within range, Jack. You better take the shot. Lord knows who's around the corner down there. Cal.
In the house, both of you.
If he gets any closer,
I don't go wait till he goes in.
I want to watch the sheriff.
Right then, the most astonishing thing happened. Jim and I almost fainted.
You take him, Mr. Finch. You do it.
We thought the sheriff must have lost his mind.
Go on, Heck.
Mr. Finch, this is a one-shot job.
You're wasting time.
Look where he is, Mr. Finch. For God's sake, you know I don't shoot that well.
I haven't held a gun in 30 years.
I'd feel mighty comfortable if you did so now.
Jim and I were in a fog, watching our father stand there in the street with a rifle. Others were watching too, but we didn't know it then. It didn't make any sense at all. It was utterly beyond belief.
Sweet Jesus, help him.
Got him! Ha! Got him!
I think I was a little to the right. If I had my druthers, I'd take a shotgun.
Yeah. Dead out the door in there. Just a little to the right.
Always was.
Well, I'll have someone come out with a pickup and take him away.
Atticus!
Stay on the porch.
You haven't forgot much, Mr. Finch. They say it never leaves you.
Atticus,
Yes, son.
I
didn't know.
I saw that one-shot Finch.
All right, you children stay on the porch. That dog's as dangerous dead as he is alive.